Severe weather across the eastern states, heavy rain, thunderstorms, flash flooding possible in parts of New South Wales and Queensland. Meanwhile, the south and west are looking at near perfect summer conditions. That's the split we are dealing with for Sunday, the 18th of January 2026. I've been examining the latest data from the Bureau of Meteorology, the synoptic charts, the satellite imagery, and what we're seeing is a textbook east-west divide driven by a stubborn low-pressure system that's parked itself over the Tasman Sea. This system is dragging moisture in from the Coral Sea, wringing it out over the coast, while a ridge of high pressure dominates the south and west. Let us break down what is actually happening meteorologically, then we'll get into the specifics for each region and what you need to know. The driving force behind tomorrow's weather is this low pressure centre sitting roughly 300 kilometres east of Sydney. It is not moving quickly. That is the problem. When these systems stall, you get persistent rainfall, and that is exactly what we're looking at for the eastern seaboard. The isobars are tight around this low, which means strong onshore winds. We're talking easterly to southeasterly winds, pushing moisture-laden air directly onto the coast. That air rises over the ranges, cools, condenses, and you get rain. Lots of it in some areas. The moisture source is significant here. Sea surface temperatures in the Tasman and Coral Sea are sitting around 26 to 27 degrees Celsius. That is warm water. Warm water means high evaporation rates, which means there's plenty of fuel for this system. Now, contrast that with what is happening in the south and west. There's a broad ridge of high pressure extending from the Great Australian Bight across South Australia and into Western Australia. High pressure means sinking air, clear skies, light winds, textbook summer weather for those areas. The boundary between these two systems runs roughly north-south through central New South Wales and Queensland. East of that line, you're in the wet. West of it, you're dry and warming up nicely. Right, let's get into the regional breakdown. We'll start where the action is on the east coast, then work our way around. If you're in Sydney or anywhere across the Sydney Basin tomorrow, you are in for a wet one. The latest forecast from the Bureau has rainfall totals between 30 and 60 millimetres across the metro area. Some areas, particularly the northern beaches and the central coast, could see 70 to 100 millimetres. That is significant rain. Not catastrophic, but significant. To put it in perspective, Sydney's average rainfall for the entire month of January is around 100 millimetres. You could cop half to three quarters of that in one day. Temperatures are taking a hit because of the cloud cover and the onshore flow. Overnight minimum around 19 degrees. Daytime maximum struggling to reach 22 degrees. That's about 8 to 10 degrees below the January average. You might actually need a light jacket if you're heading out. The rain starts early, probably around 6 a.m, and continues throughout the day. It won't be constant bucketing down, but rather persistent showers with embedded thunderstorms. Those thunderstorms are the concern. When they roll through, you are looking at brief periods of intense rainfall, lightning, gusty winds. Wind-wise, expect east to southeasterly winds around 20 to 30 kilometres per hour, with gusts up to 50 or 60 during the storms. Not cyclone force by any stretch, but enough to make things uncomfortable if you were caught outside. For those in low-lying areas, particularly around the Hawkesbury, Nepean and Georgia River catchments, keep an eye on the creek levels. With this much rain forecast, minor flooding is possible in the usual spots. The Bureau hasn't issued flood warnings yet, but if the rain's heavier than expected or if those thunderstorms park themselves over the same area for too long, that could change. Coastal conditions are ordinary as well. Hazardous surf warning is in place. Waves building to 2 to 3 metres, occasionally higher. Strong rips, beach erosion possible. If you're rethinking about a swim at Bondi or Manly, I'd reconsider. The lifeguards will have their hands full. Practical advice for Sydney, forget the outdoor plans. If you've got a barbecue scheduled, move it indoors or postpone it. Roads will be slippery, particularly the M1 and the Pacific Highway heading north. Drive to the conditions, leave extra space between vehicles, and if you see water across the road, don't chance it. Turn around, heading north to Brisbane and southeast Queensland. Conditions are similar but not quite as intense as Sydney. Brisbane looking at scattered showers and thunderstorms throughout the day. Rainfall totals in the 20 to 40 millimetre range for the metro area. The Sunshine Coast and areas north towards the Fraser Coast could see a bit more, up to 60 millimetres in some spots. The key difference between Brisbane and Sydney is that Brisbane will see breaks in the weather. It won't be solid rain all day. You will get periods of heavy showers, then it'll ease off for an hour or two, then come back. That is the scattered nature of it. Temperature-wise, Brisbane sitting better than Sydney. Overnight minimum around 22 degrees, daytime maximum around 28 to 30 degrees. Still warm, but the humidity is going to be brutal. Dew points in the low 20s, that sticky, oppressive feeling where you step outside and immediately start sweating. The thunderstorms are more of a concern in Brisbane than the steady rain. These are typical summer afternoon storms developing around midday and continuing into the evening. They will bring heavy downpours, frequent lightning and gusty winds. Some storms could be severe, particularly inland towards Ipswich and the Lockyer Valley. The Bureau's severe thunderstorm outlook has southeast Queensland in the warning area for damaging winds and large hail. Not guaranteed, but possible. If a storm warning is issued tomorrow, take it seriously. For the Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast, the surf pumping. Big easterly swell, 3 to 4 metre waves. Great for experienced surfers, dangerous for everyone else. Swim between the flags, listen to the lifeguards and don't turn your back on the ocean. Up in far north Queensland, Cairns and the Tablelands are looking at typical wet season conditions. Afternoon showers and storms, nothing out of the ordinary, warm and humid, 30 to 33 degrees with high humidity. Standard for this time of year. Down in Canberra, you are catching the southern edge of this system. Grey skies, a few showers, nothing too dramatic, maybe 10 to 20 millimetres of rain. Daytime maximum around 24 degrees, a bit dreary but manageable. Now let's shift focus to the south and west where conditions couldn't be more different. Melbourne's got it good tomorrow after a coolish start, around 16 degrees overnight. You are looking at a top of 28 degrees with a mix of sun and cloud. There might be a brief shower early morning, but that clears by mid-morning and the rest of the day's pleasant. This is what Melbourne does well when the weather cooperates. Cool mornings, warm afternoons, light winds, perfect for getting out and about, the MCG, the tan, down to St Kilda, wherever. Just enjoy it because by midweek, Melbourne's looking at a heat wave. We'll get to that in a moment. Wind-wise, light northerly winds 5 to 15 kilometres per hour. Nothing to worry about. UV index is high, so sunscreen if you are outside for any length of time. Adelaide, mate, you are in for a scorcher. And I mean a proper one. The ridge of high pressure is centering itself right over South Australia tomorrow. Clear skies, light winds and temperatures climbing to 35 to 37 degrees across the metro area. The northern suburbs and the Adelaide Hills could touch 38 or 39. This is the first significant heat of the year for Adelaide. Sea breezes will provide some relief along the coast, but inland it's going to be hot and dry. The fire danger is worth paying attention to. With temperatures in the high 30s, relative humidity dropping to around 15 to 20%, and northwesterly winds developing in the afternoon, fire danger ratings are sitting at severe to extreme across the Adelaide Hills, Mid-North and York Peninsula. Total fire ban is in effect for several districts. That means no fires whatsoever, no barbecues, no campfires, no burning off. If you are in a bushfire-prone area, make sure your fire plan is up to date. Clear gutters, move flammable materials away from the house, know your evacuation route. Realistically, with temperatures this high and humidity this low, if a fire starts, it's going to spread quickly. The Rural Fire Service will have their hands full if anything kicks off. Practical advice for Adelaide: stay hydrated, drink water even if you don't feel thirsty, check on elderly neighbours, make sure pets have access to shade and water, avoid heavy physical activity between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. And if you are heading to the beach, Glenelg or Henley, remember the UV is extreme. Sunscreen, hat, sunnies. The overnight minimum S only dropping to around 22 degrees, so it is going to be a warm night. If you don't have air conditioning, open windows on opposite sides of the house to create cross ventilation. Close blinds and curtains during the day to keep the heat out. Perth, UV struck gold. Absolutely mint conditions tomorrow. Clear skies, sunny, light sea breezes. Overnight minimum around 18 degrees. Daytime maximum 25 degrees. Perfect, not too hot, not too cool, just right. The ridge of high pressure extends right across Western Australia, so conditions are settled. No rain, no storms, no dramas. UV index is high, but that S is standard for Perth in summer. If you're not making the most of this weather, you are doing it wrong. Cottesloe Beach, Rottnest Island, down to Fremantle, wherever. Just get outside and enjoy it. Sea conditions are calm, 1 to 1.5 metre swell. Great for swimming, paddleboarding, whatever you are into. Water temperature, S, sitting around 23 degrees, which is pleasant. Wind-wise, light southwesterly sea breeze developing around midday, 15 to 20 kilometres per hour. Enough to keep things comfortable, but not enough to be annoying. Hobart S looking reasonable as well. Partly cloudy, chance of a shower, but mostly dry. Daytime maximum around 22 degrees. A bit cooler than the mainland, but that S Tasmania for you. Darwin, typical build-up conditions. Hot, humid afternoon storms, 34 to 36 degrees with high humidity. Nothing unusual for this time of year. Right, let's talk about what happens beyond Sunday because there are some patterns developing that are worth being aware of. The low pressure system affecting the east coast tomorrow starts to weaken and drift further east on Monday. That means the rain eases across Sydney and Brisbane. Not completely dry, but much improved. By Tuesday, most areas are back to partly cloudy with just isolated showers. Melbourne, on the other hand, is heading into a heat wave. Monday looking at 32 degrees, Tuesday 35, Wednesday potentially 38 to 40 degrees. That is hot. The Bureau likely to issue heatwave warnings for Victoria by Monday. This heat is being driven by a northerly airstream ahead of a cold front that is tracking across the bight. Hot, dry air from central Australia gets funneled down across Victoria. The good news is the front arrives Wednesday night, bringing a cool change. Temperatures drop back to the mid-20s on Thursday. Adelaide's cool change arrives earlier Monday afternoon. That drops temperatures back to a more comfortable 25 to 27 degrees for the first half of the week. Perth stays settled all week. Just beautiful summer weather day after day. Nothing much changes. Brisbane and the east coast dry out through the week with temperatures climbing back to the low 30s by Wednesday and Thursday. Now, I want to touch on the fire situation because with Adelaide hitting the high 30s tomorrow and Melbourne heading into a heat wave midweek, fire danger is on the radar. In the middle of summer, grass growth from the spring rains has dried out. Fuel loads are significant across South Australia, Victoria and parts of southern New South Wales. All it takes is an ignition source and you've got a problem. The fire weather conditions tomorrow in Adelaide, severe to extreme fire danger ratings, are the sort of conditions where fires spread rapidly. If you're in the Adelaide Hills, the Barossa, mid-north, anywhere with bushland nearby, you need to be switched on. Monitor the Rural Fire Service websites and apps. If a fire warning is issued, don't wait around to see what happens. If the advice is to leave, leave. Your life is worth more than your property. Same goes for Melbourne midweek, Wednesday looking like a potential total fire ban day across much of Victoria. Hot, dry, windy, classic fire weather. The CFA will be on high alert. For those in bushfire-prone areas, now's the time to prepare. Clear gutters, remove leaf litter from around the house, make sure your fire plan is up to date. Pack a bag with essentials in case you need to evacuate quickly. I'm not trying to scare anyone, I am just being realistic. We've all seen what happens when fire weather conditions align with an ignition. Black Saturday 2009, 46 degrees, low humidity, strong winds, 173 people died. That's not ancient history. Many of you remember it. Tomorrow's conditions in Adelaide aren't at that level, and Wednesday in Melbourne is not forecast to be that extreme either, but the principles are the same. Respect the conditions, be prepared, don't take unnecessary risks. On a different note, if you're already heading to the beach anywhere along the east coast tomorrow, be careful. The surf dangerous. Strong currents, big waves, beach erosion. Every summer we lose people to the ocean who underestimate the conditions. If you are not a strong swimmer, stay out of the water. If you are a strong swimmer, swim between the flags where the lifeguards can see you. If you get caught in a rip, don't panic. Don't try to swim against it, swim parallel to the beach until you're out of the current, then swim back to shore. It sounds simple, but when you're in the water and the current is pulling you out, it's easy to panic. Stay calm, conserve energy, and get yourself to safety. For those with livestock, particularly in South Australia and Victoria, make sure animals have access to shade and water. Stock water troughs, check fences, move animals to paddocks with tree cover if possible. Heat stress kills livestock just like it affects people. In terms of what to wear tomorrow, it depends where you are. Sydney and Brisbane, waterproof jacket, closed-toe shoes that can handle getting wet. Leave the white sneakers at home unless you want them ruined. Umbrellas are only useful if there is no wind. With the gusts forecast, umbrellas tend to turn inside out and become useless. A good waterproof jacket with a hood is more practical. Adelaide, light-coloured, loose-fitting clothes. Cotton or linen, something that breathes. Broad-brimmed hat, sunglasses, sunscreen, and I mean proper sunscreen, SPF 50+. Reapply every 2 hours if you are outside. Melbourne and Perth, layers. Cool in the morning, warm by midday. A t-shirt with a light hoodie or long-sleeve shirt you can take off is the go. If you are flying tomorrow, Sydney Airport likely to have delays. Thunderstorms and low cloud affect visibility and flight paths. Check your flight status before you leave home. Brisbane Airport could have similar issues, though not quite as bad. Driving conditions, Sydney to Newcastle on the M1, Brisbane to the Gold Coast on the Pacific Motorway. Wet roads reduce visibility during heavy showers. Drive to the conditions, headlights on even during the day. Leave extra space between vehicles. And if there is water across the road, turn around. Floodwater is deeper and faster than it looks. For those doing the Melbourne to Adelaide drive, watch for sun glare in the late afternoon and be ready for the temperature to jump as you cross into South Australia. The contrast between Victoria and South Australia tomorrow is going to be noticeable. Right, to wrap this up, here is the summary for Sunday, the 18th of January 2026. East Coast Sydney and Brisbane, wet. Heavy rain, thunderstorms, 30 to 60 millimetres in Sydney, 20 to 40 in Brisbane. Cooler than average in Sydney, warm and humid in Brisbane. Hazardous surf, flash flooding, possible in low-lying areas. Stay indoors if you can, drive carefully if you can. Adelaide, scorcher, 35 to 37 degrees, clear skies, severe to extreme fire danger. Total fire ban in several districts. Stay hydrated, stay indoors during peak heat. Keep an eye on fire warnings. Melbourne, beautiful. Cool start, warm afternoon, 28 degrees, mix of sun and cloud. Perfect day to get outside and enjoy it before the heatwave hits midweek. Perth, mint, 25 degrees, sunny, calm seas. If you are staying indoors tomorrow in Perth, you are mad. Hobart, reasonable, partly cloudy, chance of a shower, 22 degrees. Darwin, typical, hot, humid afternoon storms. Looking ahead to Monday, the rain eases on the east coast. Melbourne starts heating up. Adelaide gets a cool change. Perth stays perfect. That's the situation. Plan accordingly. Look after yourselves and your mates. If conditions change, the Bureau of Meteorology will update their warnings. Check their website or the BOM app for the latest. Thanks for your